City have dropped points at the Stadium of Light. Was that because Sunderland were exceptional defensively and resolute? Was it because City were lacklustre in their finishing? Is the truth somewhere in between? Should City fans be concerned from this performance? Is now the time for mass change and offensive upheaval? Or is that a little bit of an overreaction? And most importantly of all, why was City so poor in the first half relative to the second half? And vice versa, why was Sunderland not able to pressure City in that second half relative to the first? Spoilers, it's because Rodri is Rodri and he is still probably the best midfielder in the world. Sunderland not able to field their best side due to AFCON, their main left back, their main right winger, one of their main central midfielders, all unavailable. Massive shout out and massive credit deserves to be given to Sunderland for their approach in the match, playing a second string side in a sense. They made the game in their favour by turning it into a battle of second balls and loose balls and duels and aerials and physicality, and City could not deal with them for a lot of that match. Lafille, by the way, who normally plays as either a striker or a left winger, out of possession, playing in central midfield seemingly, so he deserves massive plaudits as well. City, when they had the ball, when they were attacking, primarily it was a back three. Would have Bernardo and Shirky often rotating with one another. Nunes in this hybrid role of technically starting at right centre-back and then pushing up. O'Reilly not really rotating with Savio as we've seen him rotate with Doku. Savio is a player who you want to play more so out and out on the wings, in my opinion, not at left wing, but that is where Pep opted to play him. So O'Reilly had a pretty average performance, and I think a lot of his really good performances were due to his connection and relationship with Doku. Doesn't really have the same impact with Savio because there's less license for O'Reilly and Savio to rotate in the same way. So why did City struggle in that first half? I'm going to sound like a broken record, but ultimately the main reasons to why City struggled in that first half compared to the second and weren't able to get a proper foothold in the game was because of build-up concerns and this insistence, this desire to be too eager to go direct and long too often. Donnarumma's on the ball, we punt it up. Haaland did not have a good game from a hold-up perspective, and Mukiele had a fantastic game in respect of the duels and the challenges. City kept punting it up. We kept not winning the ball because Mukiele was winning the individual battle basically every single time, and then the ball would come straight back to us. So here, we give it away, and then a few seconds later, a long ball over the top, Diaz does slip, and Donnarumma is forced into a save. Thankfully, the shot is hit straight at him, but that came from us losing the ball pretty early on, and around 30 seconds later, we're in that situation. Sunderland are committing lots of bodies forwards here. We can't really deal with their high press at this time. You'll note that we have 4 outfield players just behind their forward press. That's going to become relevant later on. We punt it up. There's no one there to hit it. The ball is not accurate enough. Sunderland punt it straight back to us. Nunes, how often do you see Nunes get physically bullied? That's how physical and athletic Sunderland were, and it worked to their favour 100%. They end up getting into a really dangerous position from City, just punting it up aimlessly and losing it. This really speaks absolute volumes, doesn't it? So this is the second ball recoveries. City won 2 in the entire 90 minutes, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I've seen City win a similar number of second balls and still win the game ultimately. We've seen that Foden won a second ball and Shirky won a second ball. But compare that to Sunderland, and where in a game where the physicality really did matter and the loose balls really did matter, the tenacity and physicality and pace of the game and tempo of the game for Sunderland really did matter. They wanted to turn it into a back and forth basketball game. 9 compared to our 2. That is a recipe for disaster, especially in that first half. Speaking of the first half, here is a zone control graph, essentially. So the blue is the areas of the pitch City are dominant in. The red, Sunderland, grey is contested. This isn't necessarily a bad zone or map at all, but if we think back to what it looked like when Sunderland came to the Etihad, this is from the first half, by the way, when it was Sunderland at the Etihad, it was all blue outside of the penalty box being red for Sunderland. So City had total control over Sunderland and they were properly pinning them in the final third, which is exactly where City want to pin their opponent. But instead, too often, a lot of the activity was happening either in our own defensive third or in the centre of the pitch. Indeed, there's this area over here where Sunderland were actually getting a decent amount of joy controlling that particular zone. The punting continued in that first half. We go short here. Have we learnt our lesson? Not going long? Well, we just go long once again through Nunes. Sunderland have committed a lot of bodies further forwards here. Nunes just punts it straight up. Shirky's not really got any chance of winning that ball. We end up winning it back, fortunately. We go backwards. Nunes isn't able to progress forwards. Ideally, this ball would come straight into Nico and then we can turn and be on our merry way. Instead, we delay, we go out wide. It's easier for the opponent to win the ball back from us out wide, so of course we end up losing the ball. So that was essentially the story of the first half, and that's why we struggled to create clear-cut chances consistently in that first half, because we didn't have a proper foothold and stranglehold on the opponent. We didn't have control or any real form of momentum in that first half. That being said, there were still a couple of instances where a fine margin or a better decision or a better action results in City scoring a goal, and then you never know what is going to happen. This is why this isn't going to be a doom and gloom analysis. This was one of those days at the office, unfortunately for City. City get the ball in the back of the net in the first half. Bernardo's heel is slightly offside. Even when we struggled with that build-up in the first half, there were still moments where we did quite well. But Mukiele had a fantastic game on an individual level. So Nico wins it back for Foden. Foden drives forward, dragging City up the pitch. Foden plays it to Haaland, but Mukiele's right on him immediately, not giving him a moment's rest or space to manoeuvre. Such was how fantastic he was in the match. Another wonderful chance. This comes from City calming the play down, recycling the ball. Shirky finds a nice ball into Nunes. You'll notice that Bernardo's holding the width out here to allow Shirky that central access. Nunes does really well, finds Foden. Foden, it's a good crossover. This is a goal every single time. Unfortunately, this is unacceptable for who I think is the best number 9 in the world. This is a shocking finish by Haaland. Just hits it straight at the goalkeeper. It's unacceptable. It's not good enough, and that should be 1-0. And in my opinion, that's actually the worst finish of the entire match, especially given the context of the player taking the shot. That is a shame. Another problem that City had, because even though we did create a good couple of chances there, well, one really, and then the one that was slightly offside, City were not able to consistently sustain those chances in the first half. And I think what speaks volumes is the lack of incisiveness and passes into, and also passes from, Zone 14, which is this little square just outside the penalty box, and also the half spaces. These are the areas of the pitch where you really want to be playing a lot of positive passes, because these are the real danger areas in football, certainly offensively. We had barely any activity down the left side compared to the right. Shout out to Spartacus, long-term viewer and supporter of the channel, for pointing this out. This isn't a dig at Nico Gonzalez, because I still think he's done a very good job this season, but he was not really able to access Foden in that left half space necessarily. He's not as strong going on his left foot. There's a little bit of angle bias there. So we did really struggle in that first half to access any of our players in the zone zone 14 and indeed the half spaces. And then even when we got to those positions, weren't really able to create too much. That all changed, however, in the second half. It wasn't to be, but this should have been, really, basically echoes and shades of Kevin De Bruyne coming back against Newcastle. Such was the impact of his arrival onto the pitch. This was the zonal control graph from the first half, second half. It is night and day. From the first half, the passes into zone 14 in the half spaces. Look at the jump, especially in the left half space. It doubles. It goes from 6 to 12. Zone 14, it goes from 8 to 20. Rodri's impact was immediate. Bernardo wins the ball back here. Rodri. This is a quite simple action, but he just looks up, and this is what I was saying about accessing the half spaces earlier. He looks up and he fizzes it into Foden. Immediately, Foden takes it, plays it into Shirky. Good ball. Frustratingly, this is a really good run by Savio. It's a gorgeous cross by Shirky. The run is equally lovely. The finish is unacceptable. There is no world in which he does not score this goal. 1 minute into that second half, and Rodri has already been massively involved in the lead up to a big chance being created. Rodri finding Foden. Foden finding Shirky. Shirky should have found the assist. I think part of this can be put down to Rodri's impact, whether direct or indirectly. I do also think that just after rewatching the game, Sunderland did just back off, like pretty immediately in that second half, even before Rodri started to help dictate play. I would love to stand here and say that the main reason why City's build-up was fixed was because of what Rodri did, but I do also have to consider that the opponent didn't really bother to engage as much. But again, maybe that's indirectly because they knew Rodri was on the pitch, therefore it's trickier for them to do so. But either way, regardless, whatever the reasoning was, City had way more time on goal kicks, and they were forced to take less goal kicks as well. 5 in the first half compared to 2 in the second. Far less turnovers of possession, far less need to punt it forwards if the opponent doesn't engage as high. And also if you have Rodri, that really helps as well. City also, what I said earlier was we had, 4 outfield players committed to being around the ball. Our entire defence and midfield in possession, so our entire 2-3 structure here from this initial phase of build-up is actually all in and around the ball as well. So even if Sunderland were pressing really high, we've got extra bodies at the back now to ask another question of them. With Bernardo, Foden and Rodri clearly all in the midfield there. We've actually overloaded their right side there. That gives us loads of space. And now when we go to build up down the left, O'Reilly can now receive the ball with plenty of time on the ball, and we're able to build out nicely, slowly, easily. Rodri involved again. Simple stuff, just picks it up here and then just walks forwards. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's what makes him so elite. What I was saying earlier about accessing our players in those dangerous zones, in those half spaces, Rodri bypasses Sunderland's midfield line into Foden. We weren't doing this nearly enough in that first half. I'll repeat, I'm not having a go at Nico, but of course, the step up between Nico and Rodri is obscene. Foden does well to receive it, plays a lovely ball into Savio. Savio gets the first touch right, and the shot is fine. I actually think this is quite a good save. I think this is one that he could have scored, not one that he should have scored, Savio. I think it actually is a pretty decent save. Savio then got injured, unfortunately. Doku came on, and Doku has been one of the best wingers in the world this season, so no surprise that City looked so much sharper. But Rodri was just involved everywhere. He was the catalyst to this change. He was everywhere. Whether it was a defensive action, whether it was a forward pass, whether it was a little dink to create a fantastic opportunity. Rodri was involved everywhere. 7 progressive passes, 4 progressive carries, 2 key passes as well is absolutely obscene, coupled with all of the defensive actions and just the general control and authority that he gave to us in the game. Speaking of defensive actions, another opportunity for City, which stems from a Rodri action. Rodri gets to tackle right, wins it back. Nunes plays in Foden. Foden switches out to Doku. Doku, 1v1, beats his man. Opportunity for a dangerous crossing, not quite able to get there. This is so gorgeous and beautiful, and this was one moment where Sunderland did try to press us quite high, but Rodri, being Rodri, was able to play out of it. The dummy, the feints, and the strength to just shove off the pressing player here is absolutely fantastic and wonderful. He plays in Foden, Foden into Bernardo, into Shirky, back into Bernardo, and the touch, the ball just isn't quite there into Bernardo. Little dinks. Guardiola came on as well, by the way. Guardiola came on for O'Reilly, and he essentially played like his old position, basically, where he was a far more advanced, marauding defender. So he technically started at left back, but it was Doku at that time, wasn't it? And then he was basically playing as like a left-sided attacking midfielder, like a left inside forward. And he was really good at it, such is the unicorn profile of what Guardiola is. Little dink here by Rodri, though. How much have we missed these switches over the past year and a half? City are just so much better as a side with Rodri in it. This should be a goal by Guardiola. It is a good save. I think this should be a goal, though. Another big chance goes begging for City. And that just continued, even without Rodri's intervention. City was still creating chance after chance after chance. Doku here, within the space of, 7 seconds, goes from here to having a shot at goal all on his own, blocked by the face of Mukiele, I believe it was. Guardiola, ridiculous effort here. Like, this is Haaland against, was it Slavia Prague or Bratislava-esque? Doing his best impression of Ibrahimovic. Here, the ball just evades Haaland. It's a fantastic intervention by the Sunderland centre-back. And here, Shirky plays it to Guardiola, just can't get the shot off. So many of those instances, and even in the dying embers, the 93rd minute, Shirky, it's a nice ball into Reinders. He probably doesn't make the right decision here. Perhaps he could have dummied, forced the slide tackle and then had a better angle for a shot himself, or played out to Haaland or Foden, who were begging for it at the back post. This was not a game for, in my opinion, for City. This is not a game for City fans to throw the toys out of the pram and call for mass change in respect of like playing style or players or whatever. Rash judgments cannot be made based on the facts of this game. There were still some worrying trends that we saw in the first half, and it's fair and right to analyse those and call those out. But it did get better in the second half, and I do hate to be that guy, but on another day, yes, I am saying the thing, blah, 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 blah. If my grandmother had wheels, it should have been a bike, I know. City score one of those Opta big chances. 5 of them we had. We had an XG of over 2. Does Haaland miss that sitter again? Does Savio miss that sitter again? Does Guardiola miss that sitter again? And so on and so on. It's just a shame that had the first half been played like the second half, and we created like a similar number of chances and we had a similar degree of control and authority in the game, it's impossible to know for sure. I would predict that we would have won the game had we played the first half like the second half. For a number of reasons, we weren't able to do that, but Rodri coming back into the side, he's a player who can almost single-handedly put a plaster over our build-up problems from this season. It remains to be seen how we will do against better sides and how we will do against sides who don't run out of energy in the second half compared to the first. Of course, that still remains to be seen, but there is no doubt the City are a far stronger outfit overall, but especially in those earlier phases of play with Rodri in the side. That was the video. Really hope you enjoyed it. I know it was only a 0-0, but I still had quite a lot to talk about in this match. There was still a storyline there, so I hope that has added some value to your understanding of the match. If you felt it did, a couple of things you can do. First of all, leave a like on the video. It's free. If you are able to, would like to support the channel and want some lovely goodies like exclusive videos and ad-free viewing, you can support me directly on Patreon. Link is on the screen right now, or you can click that join button to become a member of the YouTube channel. Shout out to the Hall of Fame, which is going by me now, and shout out to my highest tier supporters across both those platforms: Tony, Spartacus, Silver Splits the Blue, Ethan Larios, Austin King, Rowan, Yusuf, Tony Howe, Bapalint, and TJ.